Hey everyone, so we are back with another agent interview to dig into real telesales businesses of successful agents in the trenches to get some insights from them, because no life insurance telesales business is the same. Agents have different strengths, different weaknesses, they're in different situations. And I know there's a lot of agents out there considering telesales that want to know what it's actually like to run a telesales business, kind of how to get started and all that. So today we're going to hear from an agent that within his first year of being with Digital BGA, and I believe in the business, I'll ask him that. And he's tracking to submit over $400,000 in annual premium over the phone this year in 2024. Okay. So I'm going to bring Keith on. And Keith,
Hello.
welcome. How you doing?
Yeah, doing well. How are you, Jeff?
Good. All right. So real quick, tell us about yourself real quick. Where are you from and what were you doing before Digital BGA?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. Never left. That's where I am now. For the past 10 years, I've been owning and operating a small appliance company here in Columbus, Ohio. Retail, part repair. I've done that for about 10 years. Prior to that, I was in corporate America, working for a big bank, and then was in real estate for a few years. And then prior to that, I was in college and graduated with this degree in psychology. So that's kind of the speed version of, past 20 years.
So how did you get into life insurance then?
I was looking for some kind of change, because I've been operating this business for 10 years, and I just wanted another business that I could do more sitting on my butt instead, So I was thinking naturally sales is where it is. And I just kind of I spent about 6 months exploring opportunities, researching opportunities, just thinking, I could sell solar panels, you could be software sales. There's so many opportunities in sales. It led me to insurance. And then from there, I kind of narrowed it down to where do I want to be in insurance, and life insurance just kind of where I ended up wanting to be. And that's because I think I bought a life insurance product for me and my family a couple years prior. So I believe in the product, and I was thinking, yeah, naturally that's where I should be. So that's where I am.
Awesome. So this is actually the first time you and I are talking. And
Yeah.
And I was preparing for this interview with you, and I knew you were doing well, but I didn't realize just how well you've been doing. This year so far, you're averaging over $35,000 of submitted business every single month. So let's talk about that, because agents want to know, when they see somebody doing something successful, there's like a list of questions, and I feel like I'm going to cover them all here. So first of all, what leads are you working?
All TV, inbound TV leads.
All inbound TV. So why inbound TV? Yeah. Well, what do you like about working TV leads the most? I guess it's all you know. So
that's all I know. Yeah. So when I first started, I was thinking, do I do outbound? Do I do inbound? I had no idea. I was talking to the onboarding agent, the onboarding specialist here at the time, and she sort of convinced me to do the TV leads. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll do the TV leads. That's all I know. And so, yeah, I don't really have anything to compare it to. Yeah, I love the leads. It's a good business model. I think they all can be successful. I am thinking that I would like to dip into some outbound to try it, because essentially the skills are still the same. You have to learn how to close deals, how to talk to people. It's just a different business model, right? It's just a different lead cost, what you're doing with your time. It's just different. So I'm convinced that any lead works if you work it right. Yeah.
Exactly. If you're good at what you do, and you have, you don't have that call reluctance for outbound, or that I even had no agents that have inbound call reluctance. Like they get freaked out when a call comes in because they're just not prepared,
Yeah. I've been there.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, let's go over some other numbers here just to kind of, understand the state of your business, and then we'll kind of dig deep into here. So, preparing for this, I tallied up kind of what you've spent on leads. You're averaging this year in 2024, you're averaging $5,400 a month in leads, which is around $1,350 a week. And I calculated your place business this year by exporting the AMS reports that we just gave you all access to. And you're placing on average $21,582 a month this year. Okay, that's placed business in force. So $5,400 that you spend to get 21,582 in force, not submitted, right? You're submitting over 35,000, and that includes declines and approved then applied where you pivoted somewhere else, right? But you're actually placing in force $21,582, and that's just really impressive. But what's also really impressive, Keith, is your mix of business. So when I exported all your business for 2024 and looked at all your in-force policies, 88% of your in-force policies are level premium, 12% are graded or GI, and that's a good mix. And usually agents in their first year are much lower than that. So you've got a handle on the field underwriting. I can tell. Mm-hmm. So I mean, this is really good for being within your first year. How do you feel about these numbers and as it compares to the kind of your expectation when you first got into business?
Yeah, very happy. Yeah. I think I might be doing better than I anticipated. But yeah, I'm very happy with it. Yeah, especially the mix of business. And when I first started, I will say, I was kind of writing anything I could write. I didn't care. Graded level, I didn't know. And just whatever comes my way, I was writing. And I think that's great actually to do that, because you got to learn. You got to learn how to write all that type of business and the downfalls of it, the direct express, the guaranteed issue, etc. So I wrote all that. And then I started realizing, and really I feel like in April this year is when it really started taking off, like really taking off. And from that point forward, I decided I'm not going to do guaranteed issue anymore. So I don't write guaranteed issue unless someone begs me to do it, then I'll write it. Otherwise, I don't write any guaranteed issue, and I'm really, I don't do a ton of direct express. I'm thinking about eliminating that next and just going all level and graded.
A lot of call centers do that. They don't write GI, they don't write direct express. And there's a reason for that. Yeah. So, so when you get somebody on the phone and they're guaranteed issue risk, you do the health qualification and you find out they qualify for GI. What do you tell them?
So one of two things. I told them, unfortunately, I really can't help you, put you in the best situation. So here's I'm going to recommend you call. And I recommend a couple carriers that I know are really, really competitively priced, and I have no problem doing that. Or I've given a couple to some other agents here who they just want to write the business. So I'll just give them the lead and let them do it. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a reason that you found? I mean, you started really working the business in September, I believe, of 2023. And I mean, you already caught on so quickly to not write GI business that it's not good for you. What was it about the GI business that you don't like?
It just falls off. It falls off, right? It's I think by nature, the statistics are like 50% of it falls off. So, on my level business, I've noticed that recently, maybe not from day one, but recently within the past year, 4 or 5 months, I haven't calculated this, but probably like 95% persistency, probably, in terms of like policies lapsing. GI, you have 50%. So it's like, why spend an hour on a call to write a policy that has a 50% chance of falling off, where you can write, a policy that has a 95% chance of sticking? That time is money and money is time. So you kind of I'd rather put my time into a level business or graded, or if it's a guaranteed issue that someone begs me to write, then that's good too. I don't want to push for guaranteed issue. I don't want to
write
that kind of thing.
Right. Well, I see how it makes sense for you. I mean, do you still have that business, that local business that you run for the last 10 years as well? And you have that time, you have the ability to make those types of decisions and focus on your quality of business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get that. So all that said, right, you're spending about $5,400 a month and you are placing in force around $21,500 of that $5,400 that you're spending. Would you say that you'll net well into it sounds like you're going to net well into 6 figures this year?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, as long as things have been going, continue to go how they've been going since April, I should be well into there. Yeah, for the first year.
Okay. That's amazing for your first year. I mean, I can tell you, like, just keeping on this trajectory and, over the next year or so, you're going to just get more profitable, more profitable. You spend the same amount, right? You've already learned some big things that, you made some big decisions of not taking direct express or guaranteed issue, right?
Yeah.
And that was a conscious decision you made that's going to work for you. And it may not work for other people, but it works for you and because you value your time. And the fact that you're making those decisions tells me, that you really care about your prospects, number one, right? You're putting them, there's a better guaranteed issue company.
Mm-hmm.
You give them that phone number. A lot of agents do that. They'll give them that, Mutual of Omaha phone number or whatever it is and say, hey, you're better off going here. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about you're submitting on average, about $35,000, but placing 21,582. So someone from the peanut gallery out there might say hey, that looks like terrible placement, Jeff. But that number isn't a placement rate indicator because it includes those cases that got declined or approved rather than applied for, that you had to make a pivot, right? So how to calculate an accurate placement rate should be your placement rate on an actual client, not on a policy. So the submitted number, $35,000 that you're submitting are policies that you've submitted. But really what matters is that you place the client in the coverage. Like, the mission is to get them covered and protect their family. And so your numbers are actually in line for placement rate when it's placement rate of a client, right? But with that said, you seem to be very, very good from pivoting from AODAs or approved rather than applied fors and declines into getting them something in force. So how do you go about letting someone know they've been declined or approved for a graded plan and convince them to apply with a different company?
Mm-hmm. So I just make it it's really easy. So I if sometimes when I'm on a call, I might say something at the end of the call like, well, just to let you know, Jeff, we're going to go with the cheapest and the best carrier. And if something happens and they decline you, or no big deal, I've got 100 other carriers on my belt, under my belt here, plenty of other options. So don't stress, don't worry about it. I'll take care of you. And then if it gets declined, it's just a simple call in 2 days. So Jeff, no big deal. American Amicable came back with a different policy. They increased your rate. I said, no, we're not going to do that. And I went ahead and just copied everything over to your next carrier. We're going to do this. It's about the same rate, $3 more a month. And let's go ahead and do that and just blow right through it. It's easy because, especially if the prices really increase, now sometimes if you have to go to graded, it's a little bit more of a conversation. Then you just say, hey, your options are either this or guaranteed issue. Every other carrier is a 2-year waiting period. This carrier is only a 1-year waiting period. GTL, then you get your 50% death benefit the second year. So it's much better than anything else on the market. So this is where we're going to go, and we'll go with this policy here. And just be the advisor and just make it. It's not a big deal. That's what nothing's a big deal to me, and I make it so it's that with the client. It's just not a big deal. Don't stress.
Absolutely.
Yeah, got you taken care of.
I love that. And so do you kind of not warn them, but let them know that, like, hey, if it comes back different than what we thought, or you get declined, there's a lot of other carriers, like you said. Do you do that with people who have, who you think might not get approved, or do you do that with everybody as part of your sales process?
No, I definitely don't do it with everybody. And I'm trying to think, how often do I do it? I think I probably do it more so with the people that, like you submit a policy through American Amicable and you come up with all these medications and you're like, no, something, then that's when I kind of, prep them and just say, Jeff, no big deal. We'll, this declines, got you covered somewhere else. So don't worry about it.
Awesome. That's really good advice. All right. So let's talk about kind of how you got to where you are. And, like you said, you started at Digital BGA, probably taking calls in September of last year. How was the transition to the phones from kind of being in a local shop, kind of boots on the ground, to kind of just sitting in your, is this your home office? Is this where you make your calls?
This is
Is
here.
this where the magic happens?
In the bedroom, yes.
This is where all the magic
Tiny,
happens.
tiny. This is literally my desk. That's it. Yes. Yep.
Okay. So how was that transition for you to selling over the phone? A lot of people come into this, never sold over the phone before, and you haven't sold over the phone before. How was that transition for you?
Something to get used to. I don't like sitting here. I thought I wanted to sit here to get off the floor. I'm here. I don't. So my next step is to get a standing desk and to stand up and to get some good cordless, headset, so I can at least walk around the room, because I like to pace when I talk. I think that might help. I need to be more mobile and active. I like to be active and walking, and I just feel like the sedentary lifestyle is not. You got to take care of yourself. You got to exercise. I still do walk and run and lift weights and stuff like that, but it's hard to sit here in a seat for me for this long. So, and well, not this long. I'm not working that many hours, but yeah, still, that's the transition that's hard for me, is just sitting. So I want to stand and be mobile.
So you say you're not working that many hours. About how many hours a day on average are you putting into taking these calls or working your business?
Probably, yeah, I don't start till noon, typically Eastern time. I'm in Ohio. I quit, I start at noon when I do work. I start at noon, and then I'll quit it anywhere between 5, 6, 7, somewhere around there. So I think probably an average of 5 hours a day, maybe. I'll work as long as I need to. Sometimes, you're on the phone until 9:00 at night. Sometimes I'm off by 4 p.m. if it just whenever makes sense. But I would say an average of 5 hours a day is probably the average. Yeah.
Okay.
So not terrible.
All right. No, it's great. I mean, to place 21,500 a month in force, working 5 hours a day on average.
Yeah. I mean, it could be like W-2 jobs where you're working 50, 60 hours a week, making, less than we make here. So it could be, it's good. It's a nice lifestyle.
Love it. All right. So how did you go about, I guess, learning the script and the sales process? What was that like for you?
So before I even got my life insurance license, I did tons of research everywhere on the net. Read articles on Reddit. I watched YouTube videos of other agents who seemed to be doing well and had a different approach. And I just kind of followed a few people, and I actually designed my own script before I even got here. And then I realized you guys had a script. I didn't know that was going to happen. So I did tons of preparation for myself. I didn't expect anything from you guys or wherever I was going to go, because I had no idea. So I did all the preparation up front, did all the research, and designed my own script essentially before I got here. So.
Well, your sales rates are great. I mean, they're in the 22% plus range, and you're cross-selling a lot of people, like getting a lot of add-on sales.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen you add, of course, spouses, but I've also seen you add grandchildren. Like when I was looking at your book of business, I've seen child whole life policies on there. Yeah. I've seen term policies come from you as well. So, what you're doing is working there.
Yep.
So did you practice your script? So you built your own script. You probably took ours, what you learned, made it your own. Like, how did you get comfortable with the sales process?
First of all, just kind of like going over your script and really memorizing it. I would even, I take walks in the evening, once it's night here, I'll like take an hour walk, and I'll have, I'll have conversations with myself, like pretending I'm a client, and I'll just kind of go through that, like pretending I'm on the phone in a sales conversation while I'm walking. You can do it in the shower, you can do it anywhere, but, essentially just going over it in your head, however you best do it. You got it. You have to know it and memorize it. So, yeah.
Would you say you have your script memorized? Could you close your eyes and rehearse your script?
Oh, I could, but it's still there. I still have it on my computer just as a crutch, but, it's there. I don't need it. Yeah.
That's so important, by the way. It's so important if you don't have it memorized, that's something you should absolutely do, because then you can become an active listener. And I can tell that you know your script, because the people who have the most like cross sells, attachment sales, higher sales rates, you can tell they rehearse their script because they're actively listening and able to probe a little bit more, because they're not so focused on reading, okay, what's the next question or what's the next thing I say, and going, robotically going down a script. So,
Yeah.
it's such a game changer once you internalize what you say. And it doesn't need to be our script, somebody else's script, wherever you're at, whatever works for you, because how we develop a script could be, you could have a completely different personality, completely different, as long as you have the same structure, you're getting the same information, right?
Yep.
And you're having the same effect. That's all that matters. You've probably heard, you said you watch a lot of, people that are successfully doing this over the phone. It's not really what you say, it's how you say it as well.
Yeah.
And
it is. The delivery is everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no one wants to listen to a scripted robot. I don't want to listen to a scripted robot when I call the bank. Unfortunately, most of that it's just how it is. Everyone's a robot. They're just reading from a script. They don't have any emotion. That's not what's in sales. It's not going to do you any good.
Yeah. So, okay. When you started taking calls, September, October, November, like that era, your first few months here, was there anything like specifically that really helped you kind of get traction and get that confidence, besides putting in reps? Like, was there some sort of training, like something that really helped you kind of launch?
The big thing for me, aside from learning and memorizing the script and just knowing it, is just making it a conversation, not a sales presentation, nothing fancy. It's just a conversation. In the customer's eyes, the prospect's eyes, when I'm on the phone, I can almost guarantee to them, they don't know that there's anything scripted. They just think it's a conversation, and it is, and it can go in multiple different ways, but I know where it's going. I'm always like ahead of where the conversation is. The conversation is here and I know where it's going. So it's good to be kind of ahead of yourself and know how to guide that to where you want it to go. Aside from that, it's a lot of just not talking. It's a lot of talking less and selling more. I realize when I talk less, I sell more. And I do that
Great advice.
Asking the right questions in the right tone at the right time.
Pauses.
Yes, pauses. There's a lot of awkward pauses in my presentations. I don't resist the urge to fill up space with talk, because if you pause, customer will talk, and that's what I want. I want them to talk and open up to me. Our sessions are more like a therapist client.
I love that. Yeah, and I feel like that's a common habit of newer agents, is they have to fill up dead air.
I've been there.
Yeah. It's out of anxiety. It's out of, feeling uncomfortable. But those silent moments are when, like, emotions, people start feeling things, right? Mm-hmm. And, they can be very, very powerful. So, I always talk about when, call reluctance, everybody's heard me talk about, kind of, there's something going on in your head. You have this self-talk that, where you can't get on the phone, you got to work through that. It's kind of the same thing with, if you find yourself filling the air with words, and it's common, like in our call centers, I hear it all the time. And it's not something that it's just innate in people, and they just need to be self-aware of it. Mm-hmm. And once they become self-aware of it, and they can, when you're not filling the air with words, you sound more confident in your words. You sound more competent.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what they want to know, that you are, that you are a competent advisor that is there to help them.
Yeah. And it's okay to think. It's okay because when you're not talking, you're thinking. A normal conversation, we're not, there are pauses like this. Yeah, that's normal, and it's going to be normal in a conversation. So don't feel the need to keep talking and go it just makes it's terrible. It just makes it, you're going to sell far less policies that way. So you just got to slow down and let them talk about life insurance. Don't let it go crazy, but give them the stage and the floor to express themselves, talk.
Absolutely. So we touched on it briefly, but I kind of want to dig in here. So, you have written some other products like child whole life and term that I've seen. How did you get comfortable selling those?
Well, I have 3 kids, and they all have policies. So I know, I tell people, I don't write those kids policies very often because the final expense client generally isn't, the bulk of these clients aren't they're hardly able to get their own policies enforced, let alone a child. But there are some people who have the finances to do it. So I don't want you to think that I'm like, people to think that I'm just pushing child policies on everybody because it's rare. But if you find the responsible client who has funds available and is able to do it, it's a great thing because I tell them, I have policies on all 3 of my children. I said, kids die, they die. Unfortunately, it's a reality. We're not getting out alive. So if you're a human being, you should have coverage, unless you have funds to pay for your funeral. Most people don't. So, and then I cross sell those policies. Those are easy too when you get some, because those are cheap, for depending on your age at $10, $20 a month. So they're very inexpensive. So.
Yeah. But when you attach policies, your placement rate is really, really good when you attach, ancillary type products to a final expense sale. So there's added benefits. It's not just, hey, somebody might say, well, it's not worth it to go for a $10 to $20 a month premium,
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about it as an attach rate and helping families, like you'll probably get more referrals. You'll probably, you are their insurance agent now. They will reach out to you because you have their final expense policy and their kids' policies or their grandkids' policies, I should say. And it's, they will reach back out to you.
Yeah, you want to suck as much as you can out of that lead, where applicable. Whether it's a spouse, it's a child, is it a term client? Most of these leads aren't term people, but there are term clients in there, and you got to be able to recognize this guy's a term person. He's not a final expense. He's in his 50s. He's got a mortgage. He's more of a term guy, or you got to know.
He's employed or something. Yeah.
Business owners. Yeah. So.
And so, do you get those with the TV calls? So they're running final expense calls, and we do say on our commercials anywhere from $10,000 up to $1 million of coverage. Mm-hmm. And so there are term opportunities that come in here. And so is there anything else you do to identify a term client beyond, 50s, has income? Is there anything that you kind of pivot to, or once you kind of understand their situation, who they are, you just bring up term instead of final expense?
Yeah. It's just kind of, basically what you're saying is the only thing that I kind of know, how to identify those people. It's rare, it's a rare thing. And I don't have a ton of experience with term. I only have 2 term cases or 3 that I've ever done. So I really don't know. I'm not really good with the underwriting and the whole process. I'm really just new at that. But it's another thing I want to learn is term. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get you there. Okay, let's switch gears here. A lot of agents have trouble cash flowing this business when they're starting out. It's the biggest issue in this business for any agent getting started here, to spend the money on leads. So what is your strategy in determining how many leads to buy? And if you can walk me through that, like how it was for you when you started and how it is for you now, if it's any different, I think that'd be really helpful for people to hear.
So when I first started, it's hard. It's really hard to cash flow. You put in just definitely get yourself in the best preparation that you can be, like with your script and all that stuff. Like I was saying, it's very hard to show up and expect an IMO to train you. Although I know that you guys do that and you probably do a wonderful job, and that's great, but you really need to do the work. This is your business. This is not a W-2 position where they're going to train you. You guys you do train, but it's not you've got to do the work yourself. You've got to understand what you're doing. And I think that's number one. So I did that. And then when I came in the business, I essentially, I don't want to say I failed out in 2 months, but the income was not where I wanted to be in 2 months. So I took a break. I went to my other business, tried to build up some funds, then I came back. So it's not easy. It's not easy. But in time, you will learn and you will grow and you will get better and you will just start cash flowing. All the dots have to click in your head. There's a lot to this business. It's the underwriting, the script, your tonality, your presentation, how you work the leads, getting over the call reluctance that you were talking about. There's so many dots that they have to connect before you start making bank. But once they connect, you will make bank. As long as you're dedicated to do it, you will be able to help people succeed, and you really will. But you have to allow yourself that. I told myself when I first got into this, I'm going to go through a boot camp. This is going to be boot camp time for me. I know I'm going to fail. I'm not going to make a ton of money. I just expected that. I expected to lose. I just threw a bunch of money in leads, and it's going to happen. You're going to lose money. But, I've lost money in my other business. So the best, you're going to lose money in any business. So just get used to that and be happy with it, because you're going to lose money and then you're going to make a ton later, as long as it's for you. Yeah.
Right. Right. And I think that's important for people to hear. I mean, you just said you struggled your first 2 months, went back to your other business, came back, kind of refreshed, probably did a lot of self-reflection and came back. And another piece that I just picked up that I want to point out is the discipline that you had to train yourself. Yeah, we provide training and everything, but you decided that you are going to train yourself, right?
Yeah.
You are going to, you had the discipline to make sure you understood the sales process and every field underwriting, all that stuff. You relied on yourself, not us. A lot of agents rely on us, and that's fine. But really, you are the person to make this successful. Digital BGA cannot make you successful, right?
No.
We can give you leads, we can give you some tech and a script and some training and, introduce you to all these different concepts. But in the end, you are the one that makes you successful, and you were not successful your first 2 months in the business.
No.
But now you're very successful. And, the fact that you're less than a year in the business and doing the volume that you are, finally, like you said, you connected the dots and it clicked. It's just going to keep getting better and better as you understand things. And you're already understanding, like, okay, I don't do direct express. I don't do GI business. And you've already connected some of those dots that takes some people years to figure out. And you're setting those boundaries in your business. It has to be because you've owned a business for 10 years, though. A lot of people just can't make that decision that, to walk away from that business. But
yeah, it is I am an entrepreneur, like in my mind as an entrepreneur. That's who I am. I don't like working for people. I don't like people telling me what to do. I like making my own decisions. I like exploring, being creative. That's just who I am. And it's not everybody. So if you're a W-2 person, this is going to be hard, because no one's holding your hand and telling you to get into the office and do this and do that. You've got to do it. So it's not for everybody. It's not. This is different. It's a different mindset. Business ownership is different. Some days I work 10 hours a day. Some days, I'll go 2 or 3 days and I won't work at all. That's fine, because I don't have to. Some days I bust my butt and then I'm on the phone all day. It just depends on what needs to be done. You do it. Midnight I'm working sometimes. Who knows? I work whenever I need to, however much I need to work. It's hard for people to get used to that.
Yeah, for sure. So when you came back after you took that break, were you successful right out the gate, or did it take another like 30, 60 days to kind of get that traction?
I was definitely more successful than when I left. That was January when I came back. In January, February, March, I look at my conversion rates and they were good. They were floating around 18%, 35%, between 18 and 35%. And when I say conversion rates, I mean the amount of policies that I submit based on the leads that I buy. That's how I determine conversions.
That's how we do it too. That's how we do it too. Yeah.
Okay. So then I got, and then finally April hit, and from April to July, it's 40 to 50% conversions, since then.
Yeah, absolutely. And just so people understand what we're talking about, just to kind of break it down, the conversion, and, it's not just what you sell to a unique call that you take or a unique lead that you take. It's all the policies associated with it. So you count the spouse sale in that conversion rate. You count the other policies that you sell, the referrals, all that sort of thing in there. And that's how you're getting to 40, 50% conversion rate. And that is, that's for TV calls. I can tell you that's where like 40% is where top performers are when you factor in those who go for the spouse and ask for referrals and work their, emergency contacts and do the things that they need to do, right? Go after the child policies, things like that. So
I would venture to say at this point, and this might be a big leap of confidence here, but I'm venturing to say that about 50 to 60% of these leads can't be closed. Okay. They just can't be closed. And that's one thing that I struggled with at the beginning, because I thought, oh, this is a lead. It's an $85 lead. This should close. It's not. They're duds. They're half duds. So I think if you get that mindset, you can't even close half of these things. So once you get a lead on the phone that's, I'm looking for my bank account, my bank balance, get them off the phone. Someone who's just crazy mental, get them off you have to learn when to get them off the phone, because it's not even a closable lead. So that's something, and there's a lot of people in chats that are just like, I was there, I got this guy that called in and he was just crazy. About, do I get a refund? It's like, just throw them away.
It's part of working leads. Yes. It's the same as, if you're working outbound leads. Let's just say you're really good and you're working Facebook leads and you close 10% of your leads. 90% of them are those, are throwaways. Yeah, they're duds. You're going to have bogus and people who tell you to go pound the sand. And that's the mindset that you need to have. I think this is critical. This is like one thing that I wish I could just shake agents and say, it's part of the business. This business is imperfect, right? No business is perfect. And one of the imperfections of this business is you're going to talk to people who requested something or called in and they have no intention to buy. No. And that's just part of it. That's just part of the business. And once you can feel less anxious about getting those and know that the numbers still work out, that is usually a breakthrough moment for most agents.
Yeah, I would actually pay $200, $300 a lead if I could get guaranteed high intent, guaranteed has a bank account, guaranteed not guaranteed issue. I would pay $500. I don't know. I'd pay tons of money for a lead, because I know if it's a closable lead, I'm going to close it. If there's 50, half intent there, I'm going to close it. I know, I'm confident in that now. So it's just about getting rid of the crud, the duds, and working the good leads and closing them. That's all it is. So you'll learn that. And again, when I was new, I was the same. I was freaking out about the duds and do I get a refund? And this is terrible. But you'll learn to just throw away half your leads because they're throwaways. That's the way it is.
Yeah. I like to say I'm a baseball guy. So like the top hitters in baseball hit in the low 300s, like maybe 320, 330. And that means, 66% of the time plus they're failing, right? But they're the best in the business. And just like this, you're expected to fail 50, 60, 70% plus of the time, and you will be considered one of the best closers out there. If you're writing 30, 40% in business and you're already doing that, that's considered very good, but you're failing more often than you succeed. And that's something you just got to wrap your mind around. And that's the hardest part of this business, I think. I mean, I talked about cash flow being hard, but really it's the mindset of that. It's not really, a lot of people look at rejection like, they can't handle all these no's, but in reality, you're just, you're filtering through the people you need to talk to get to the people that you're going to help.
That's it. It's just filtering through the leads that the people you can't help.
Yeah.
That's it.
Awesome. Well, I was going to ask you tips for new agent, but that is probably the best tip you can ever give. The whole mindset that you just described on how to view, when you get somebody like that, a bogus leader or whatever that is. That's where agents like new agents get hung up on, and it, makes them insanely frustrated, to the point where this business isn't for me, but it's part of the business. You just have to accept it.
It's just the way it works. Yeah. Yeah. But just working the leads that you get to the best of your ability. Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah. And
sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was just going to say, and another thing that helps too, if you're not closing a lead, and this is what I've been doing for a long time, I stop and I go, why didn't I close that lead? Why didn't I close that? And now at this point in my career, with whatever you call it, I know why I didn't close the lead. It's because it wasn't closable, but before I was probably talking too fast. I probably scared him on. You have to analyze why you didn't close that lead and learn from that, how you're going to close the next leads. And finally, when you get to the point where you can say, I closed every lead that I could close, you're where where you should be, that kind of deal.
That's great advice. Agents should listen to their calls. They should figure out, they should analyze what they could do better. You're going to have so many weaknesses at the very beginning. And if you could just figure out what those weaknesses are and not be naive to think that it's the leads or it's, it's something else, that it's something that you control, then, you're well on your way to becoming a better agent. But that's the kind of critique of yourself that it takes to be a better person. As an entrepreneur, that's what you're doing all day long, is optimizing. And you have to be able to optimize yourself in order to make this business work. And which means you have to be critical of yourself.
Yes.
So
very much so.
So to figure out, like, after you don't close somebody, to figure out what that was, that's some, that's some next level stuff that agents need to, that have really good advice. Yeah.
Because again, no one's holding your hand. I mean, you've got an RSD here. I mean, that's great. And Ben's been very helpful. But I don't lean on Ben for all that. That's me. I need to figure that out for me. So I do.
Awesome. Well, Keith, you've given us a ton of great insights. And I want to just thank you for your partnership real quick with us. And, I can just tell you that your profits are going to keep getting better and better as your book of business grows and just creates more opportunity. You're less than a year in, and you're doing really well here. It's just incredible that you're doing these numbers within your first year. There's not many people like you out there. But I think an agent that watching this understands exactly how you got there after watching this conversation. So anyway, I appreciate you taking the time to share with everybody. And thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.